Hi everyone, welcome back to Bricks at War. Today we're going to take a look at my version of the Brickmania M1A2 main battle tank. Once again, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at my version of the Brickmania M1A2 main battle tank. Now, they've had many releases of the main battle tank over the years. This is the 2023 version. It was designed by Dan Siskin and originally came out in NATO camo woodland green. So as you can see, I've changed that now to tan, and for the most part is exactly like the version released by Brickmania, other than the bore extractor at the front, which is right here. I went with a more or an older version from a previous M1A2 designed by them, as the current one that came in the woodland camo was a 3D printed part, and obviously that's not available in tan. So that's pretty much the only change to it. But other than that, at first glance, it's got amazing proportion, a ton of details, and that, of course, rugged military look to it. So let's talk about the design here for a minute. Now, Brickmania has been putting out great designs for many of years now. This is no exception. The builder, Dan Siskin, did a great job of achieving the look and the feel of this particular tank. And I really enjoy how the slopes here on the front look. This is a little bit different design than he's done in the past. Let's straighten that one out a little bit there. There we go. And he's upgraded the turret top here with not only some different building designs, but also more current design features of the actual tank itself. It's got the ballistic glass protection for the M240 cruise serve weapon position. Now I'm missing my M240s. They are on order and we will get them in shortly, and we'll be installing those particular cruise serve weapons. Of course, traditional, just a little bit different way of mounting the traditional smoke ejectors here on the sides of the tanks. This is once again a little bit of different design than what he's done in the past. I like it. It's a little bit more compact, looks a little bit more realistic, and of course, all the other features that you've seen in Brickmania tanks are built into this one, along with a few new ones. Of course, the treads do actually turn, which gives it another realistic look to it and feel of it. And it really comes out looking like what you would expect from a main battle tank from the rear to the front. Now, like I said, the original design was from 2023 and it was in woodland camo. Color usage he used in that particular model was excellent. Obviously, we are building this one in desert tan, so not a lot of difference in terms of the colors used throughout the tank itself, other than we've got a few pieces that are black. 99% of this tank obviously is going to be in tan. So let's talk a little bit about the playability of this particular kit. As you can see, I've got it separated into some separate components here. The first one being the turret itself. The turret is fully 360-degree turnable when it sits on top of the chassis itself. The chassis has a great design to it, and one of the reasons why I wanted to build some of these tanks is that it allows for a power pack unit to be built and installed inside the back of the tank. It's got the cover for it, along with the two doors on the back here that slide shut. So if you're looking for a little bit more realistic, something a little bit more, have a little bit more playability with it, this might be the design for you. And Dan did a great job of building those features into it. Of course, like usual, it does have on the turret hatches for the gunners to, or the tank commander, and other minifigs to fit inside there. As you can see, they fit really good. They have the heavy machine gun here. The M2 machine gun does rotate, which is another great feature, and I enjoy that. And of course, this all works really well with the look of the tank. Now, the bottom section of the tank, we'll go to that here for a second, has a really interesting design to it. I know Dan's used this a couple times. I think he used this same kind of process in the Bradley that allows for these rubber Techniques connectors to be used as suspension components, which allows the suspension to bounce up and down and return to its original position, allowing the drive wheels to go over different terrain and look realistic in that particular process. The tracks do move. It's a little bit difficult as usual, and sometimes they need to be adjusted along with the wheels to get a little bit better flow. I'm not going to try to do that today, but trust me, they do move when you kind of get them dialed in and set in the right position. Sometimes it takes a little bit of settings of the wheels, like I said, to make that work correctly. Let's go ahead and put the turret back on top. As you can see, it just sits in here and then connects in the bottom with a top of a 2x2 turntable. As you can hear the snaps into place. And now you've got your tank being able to rotate 360 degrees on the battlefield. So let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons of this particular kit. Pros, it looks excellent, it plays well, its playability, or as a lot of people like to say, its swoopability, while you're playing with it and not having pieces necessarily fall off constantly, is excellent in this particular design. It does look like it might be a little bit fragile, but it is not. Occasionally you knock off a side panel here when you're playing. Obviously the antennas, as they stick up, you got to be careful about not whacking those and sending them onto the floor. But other than that, it's a really great design. The color scheme for tan, obviously, looks exactly the way it does. And the original design with the woodland camo, NATO woodland camo, it was excellent. He nailed it with that camo scheme. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you go take a look at it at the Brickmania archives. Cons, it's made of 1,234 parts. Obviously, that's quite a few pieces to build one single tank. If you have a sizable collection of Lego, you probably can get 90% of these parts right out of your collection. You may need to go and buy a few things. I needed to buy a few things to make this all happen. I was building 6 at this particular time. We'll talk a little bit more about why I was doing that here a little bit later in the video, but it does have a substantial amount of parts. It does take some time to build. So one of the things I did for the building process was to break it down into kind of components. And what I did is I took the original instructions, I scanned them so I could put them up on my computer. The other reason is I wanted to blow up the images, so I could see them a little bit clearer. At my age, I need a little bit bigger image. You might not need that at your age, but I took them, I broke it down into basically these components: a lower chassis down here. Then I built a BrickLink file for those parts that I needed. Then I did upper chassis, everything that involves the upper chassis, along with the power pack covers and the rear doors. Then I did the sidings. That was another individual component that I built. And then I worked on the tank turret itself, which was the main turret and everything that involves that. Then I made another subsection of the turret top, turret cage or hangover cage here where supplies were put. And then I did my final BrickLink list of parts for all the components that are on top, from the hatches to the automated machine gun and the turret itself, or the gun itself. That's how I did it. When it was all said and done, then I took those lists, I pulled the parts that I needed, and then I ordered the parts that I didn't have. So That was my process for the building of this particular one. Like I said, it does take some time to put each individual component together. Some go faster than the other, but I think once you get the chassis part done, especially the lower chassis, everything moves pretty quickly from there. The lower chassis is a little bit complicated, not to mention there's a lot of repetitive components that have to be put together over and over again, especially like the drive wheels and stuff like that. But once you get past that point, the build goes relatively quickly. So as usual, there was a reason why I was building more tanks. If you followed my earlier videos, especially the one of the overview of my Lego army, you know I already had 8 M1A2 tanks built, which gave me part of a company. It used to be a mechanized company as its organization. 2 platoons of M1s were obviously assigned to that mechanized unit. We're now changing that mechanized unit into a full heavy armor company. Therefore, I needed 6 more M1A2 tanks, 4 to create 1 more platoon, giving me 3 platoons of M1A2s, and 2 additional tanks that are attached to the headquarters unit itself. So with these 6, that gives me the 14 tanks I need to create a army platoon, or I'm sorry, an army company. I will do a review of that here in the future. Now that I've got these 6 tanks done, the question is, do I go back and change the original 8 and update them to this particular design? I think I really want to, mainly because I really enjoy having the power pack ability to put the power pack in the back of the tank. That playability feature alone is probably the reason why I bought the most current kit itself from Brickmania, because I wanted that ability. The changes from previous versions to newer versions aren't necessarily always worth the purchase. In this particular case, it was for me to be able to find out what the magic sauce was that Dan built into that particular tank to make that all work. I think it was worth it for me. And now I'm off to the races. I've got 6 based off of that design and 8 based off of previous versions. So let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Should I go back and rebuild the other 8 to make them upgraded or updated to this most current version? Or do I just leave them as they are? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment area. Well, this brings us to the end of the video today. We sure hope you enjoyed the overview of this particular tank and its design by Brickmania and Dan Siskin. I think they hit it out of the park. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed building it. And now it's, do I take my older tanks and modify them into this? We'll see. But hey, make sure you leave me some comments in the comment area. If you got questions or, once again, videos you'd like to see in the future, please let me know. We're still working on some great projects that are coming up here before the end of the year, and we'll have videos out on those as well. Enjoy. Have a great day.